Hello one and all, and welcome back. It's been a few weeks since I last saw everyone, but I'm back now, and in the last couple of weeks I've been playing Destiny 2, the new Witch Queen update, and I wasn't going to do this, but honestly I want to talk about it because it's awesome. So this is going to be my brief review of the game, what I like, what I don't like, and ultimately how I feel, and I'll give it a score. Okay, just for a little bit of disclosure, I do want to point out that I've been playing Destiny since original Vanilla D1. I was actually there on day one. I played all through that, and then I played all through the expansions of D2, right up until Shadowkeep. I played Shadowkeep for a couple of weeks, and I honestly got a bit bored, and then I gave up on it, actually for 2 years. I missed out completely on the Beyond Light expansion, and I only came back to the game about 4 to 6 weeks, I think, before the Witch Queen, to try and catch up, and it's really ensnared me again, but particularly the new update has got me going. If you don't care about the rest of the video and you just want a quick take, here it is. The Witch Queen is the best that Destiny has ever been. In any way that you want to grade it, it is the best that it's ever been. Seriously, I will defend that statement, and that is the hill that I choose to die on today. The story, in particular, hits some home runs this time. It really does remind me of the days following the Taken King update. The way the fandom is reacting to it, all the positivity that's coming out of it, it really has taken me back to those days when the Taken King first came out. In my opinion, this is the closest that Bungie have ever brought us to a full Destiny 3 overhaul. And I think it's fairly clear that that is the direction that they're headed in, and there are some sprinklings of evidence for that throughout this update. Alright, that was the quick take. So let's break that down a little bit though and talk about exactly why I think this is such a great update and now such a great game. I mentioned the story briefly, so why not start there, shall we? For a little bit of context, in the early days of Destiny 1, it was a bit of a thing in the fandom to make fun of the lack of lore and lack of world building and narrative that had been put into Destiny. And this continued, honestly, right up until Destiny 2 came out, to be honest. Those days, however, are long gone, and in the last 2 years in particular, Bungie has really been pushing the narrative aspect of this franchise. With that said, the Witch Queen is full to the brim of story and world building like you've never seen in a single update for this game. I would argue it's better than the Taken King. I would even argue it's better than our roaring rampage of revenge for Cade 6 in the Forsaken campaign. It is the best single campaign they have ever released. It's clear to me that Bungie have learnt from a lot of their old missteps and have really tried to bring some cohesion and structure to this campaign. There have been a few narrative loose ends in Destiny that actually started all the way back in the Taken King, and there have been some as well with the vanilla campaign of Destiny 2, such as, what is the darkness? What are those black pyramids, and what do they want? Well, without giving too many spoilers away, we get some answers to a lot of those questions in this update. With, admittedly, some rather confusing lines of dialogue, but I'm sure that is just future foreshadowing for more world building in the later expansions. Now, spoiler alert, but the biggest change to the narrative is that the Hive now have access to the light, which effectively makes them Guardians in all but name. They have access to Guardian powers, and they have access to ghosts as well. This actually is not just a story thing, it makes a huge difference on the gameplay as well, but I'll get to that in a minute. Now, what this change does with the Hive having access to the light is it really blurs the lines between good and bad in the Destiny universe, light and dark, which they've been trying to do for a few years now. In fairness, you have Hive, who are born of darkness, but are using the light, and then you have Guardians, who are born of the light, but using darkness, like the stasis power is born from darkness. So it is really breaking down that barrier between good and bad, and honestly, that blurred line is really, really getting even blurrier now, as your Guardians partake in some, shall we say, slightly unsavoury activities and some very questionable decisions throughout this campaign. I don't want to go too far into it because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it really excited me, and it's really upended the whole Destiny universe in my mind. It's really thrown into question, what are Guardians? Who actually are they? What are they fighting for? What is the end goal here for everyone? And you don't really get any answers to that because they're more sort of philosophical questions which they leave up to you, the gamer, to decide for yourself. And I think Bungie have done a great job here because when Destiny started, it was a very black and white morality. I mean, it was literally the light and the dark. So I really love that they're breaking that down with even people like Commander Zavala beginning to question if we're even doing the right thing here. Enough with the story though. I briefly mentioned gameplay, so let's get into that because there are some big gameplay changes as well. As I mentioned, during the story you find out that the Hive now have access to light-based powers and a ghost. This gives them Guardian-like abilities. For example, an Acolyte is a hunter and has access to the Blade Barrage Super. This really does add a new sense of danger to battles when they're around because these guys absolutely pack a punch, and for the most part, if they're super launches, it can one-shot you. Like Guardians, these guys also have a ghost which can resurrect them after they've died, and there is nothing more frustrating or frankly funny than once you've whittled the health down of one of these guys only to forget about their ghost and see them suddenly spring back to life on full health in front of you. Okay, so in my opinion, the Lucient Hive, and particularly the Light Bearers, are the greatest addition to any faction that we've seen in a while. You know when these guys are on the battlefield, they make their presence known, and it upends how you decide you're going to encounter them. During the campaign, they actually seem to be there to replace champions. You know, the Unstoppable, Overload and Triangle guys. Which I like, because you can kill the Lightbearers any way you please. It doesn't restrict your choice of guns, particularly early in the campaign, where you're constantly getting new gear drops all the time. It's a really good change. They create a real sense of danger, and actually a really good level of difficulty as well. This works great in tandem with the new level design, forcing you out of cover to go get their ghost. Particularly on the higher level difficulties, this presents you with the problem of not just how to kill it, but when. Bungie haven't just left you out in the cold to deal with these powerful Hive. Oh no. To help you, they have completely overhauled the Void subclass, which they're actually naming Void 3.0, or I've seen some people call it Subclass 3.0, which I personally think is further evidence that Bungie are moving in the direction of a full Destiny 3. There are lots of new abilities for you to play with, and it is based on the Stasis subclass, so you also have a number of different fragments and aspects that you can use to enhance and customise your character. With these new abilities, it presents you with different ways of encountering enemies. Personally, the one I really like is the new Void Soul ability. If you haven't tried it yet, seriously go ahead and give it a go, it's lots of fun, and for those of you that have tried it, you know what I'm talking about. There's also a ton of new activities for you to have a go at, including, of course, the obvious like new strikes and whatnot, and those strikes actually have quite a few new mechanics as well, so they're not just there, go here and shoot some stuff. I will, however, leave you to explore all of that stuff on your own. Trust me though, it's good. I briefly mentioned level design a moment ago, and from there I want to talk about the setting of this new campaign. It is very clear to me that Bungie have worked extremely hard on creating this new map. The new area is Savathun's Throne World, and it is vast. It is huge, but also incredibly diverse in its areas as well. The designers have done an absolutely fantastic job of making it feel both very expansive, but also incredibly oppressive as well. There's a very, very oppressive atmosphere surrounding the entire place that kind of makes you feel like you don't want to be there, but also you want to see more. The entire place feels incredibly creepy, particularly the more swampy areas, and you often hear odd noises. So for example, you will quite often hear like little chattering noises or the sound of insects surrounding you. Now, there's nothing over there, but it just constantly makes you feel like something's there. Something is watching you. Something is about to jump out. It never does though. That tension's just always rising. Honestly, it gives the entire area a pretty spooky vibe to it. Due to the diversity of the area, of course, though, it never gets visually boring either. There's always new things to see and new things to marvel at. Everything about Savathun's Throne World has just left me in awe, particularly during the campaign, where they really take you through some of the highlights of this place. Finally, though, I want to move on to some of the negatives. Well, I say that, I don't really have any negatives to speak of, to be honest, because, truly, there really aren't that many, at least for me. I'm sure there'll be some people who have quite a lot of criticisms, but for me personally, there's really not that many. Now, because I struggle to think of some, I did actually text my best friend, who plays a lot of Destiny with me. He took the week off work and whatnot, so we could play it on the week of release. And the only one he could really come up with was actually a user interface, a UI issue. So for him, he thought that the quest screen, how all of your quests are organised and whatnot, really does need a bit of a reboot. And I kind of agree with him. That quest screen has been around since vanilla D2, and other than a couple of filters, really hasn't been updated much. And I don't feel personally that it really fits very well with how the modern day quests are structured. And what he said was that even as an experienced player, he sometimes feels just a little bit lost about exactly what we're supposed to be doing next. Now, I can also infer from that, yeah, if he's feeling that way, then I imagine a new player could particularly feel a little overwhelmed. Speaking of being overwhelmed, though, that's really my only complaint. There is so much new content, and because of the older stuff as well, there is now so much for you to do each week that it can feel a little bit overwhelming. And I genuinely feel a lot of people are going to struggle to finish it all every week, even with just one character. Now, I know the comeback to that for some people is going to be, well, no one's making you play all of this content. And you know what? That's true. This is, in a way, really a positive for the game. This complaint can also be seen, actually, as an indication of just how far Destiny has come. Because back in the early days, the main complaint about Destiny was lack of content. And I really don't think you can throw that at them now. Destiny has come a long way. And it may have taken its time to get there, but I truly believe that with this update, it is up there as one of the best online games you can get. It's fun to play single, but if you've got a couple of mates who will knock around with you, it is so much fun to play with them and chat and have it on in the background. In summary then, great story, fantastic in-game world, and incredibly fun to play, which, as we all know, is the most important part. Final rating then. 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. There are a few nitpicky complaints that you could probably get at, but I'm going to be honest, I don't care. This update has truly reinvigorated my love of this game. It has created a spark in me that I actually thought was fully extinguished, and I am well and truly back in love with Destiny. I think the fact that it has brought me back and re-sparked my love of it is a really big mark in its favour, because I honestly thought I was done. I honestly thought I was done with Destiny and I would never be back, but here I am, making a video about how much I love it. But there you go, 9 to 9.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, it really helps with the algorithm. Or if you want to see more of my stuff in the future, hit that subscribe button down below. I try and put videos out each week, they're somewhat fortnightly at the moment due to some doctor's appointments, but hopefully I'll be back to weekly soon. If you want to see more of my stuff right now, 2 videos will pop up on screen here and here. This one is my latest video that I did, and this one is a YouTube suggestion from my catalogue that they think you will like. Again, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate your support, and until next time, you stay safe. Goodbye.